Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the panel for being here. Mr. Collison, I'd like to come to you. You built quite a family business. Congratulations, and to have your dad with you is pretty neat. I come from a family business background as well and work with my family, and some days it's great, and some days they're my family. But I wanted to go to your testimony because I see, as you wrote in your testimony back in 2014, that you put a pause on supporting the Bitcoin, and you saw limited demand, and but then you kind of relaunched it again with Stripe. We did the stablecoin pay-ins in April of 2024, and that you saw more volume in stablecoin payments over the first week than you saw in Bitcoin over a year and a half. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what do you think that was, and why?
Yeah, it was. Wasn't very popular in the Bitcoin community when we sort of removed support from Stripe, but that wasn't because of any ideological principle or position. We're very responsive to what our customers want and what we observe user behavior as trending towards, and we saw declining usage of Bitcoin. Again, back in 2014, it was a very different time. And so we've obviously been paying close attention to the ecosystem, and the world is becoming more densely connected and globalized. The crypto ecosystem has matured substantially, and we've been very struck, as you mentioned, as we've gradually over the past 2 years or so rolled out new support for stablecoins. That there's very real usage, there's very real appetite, and again, we're seeing use cases outside of what one might traditionally consider the crypto industry, and it's really expanding into the economy as a whole.
I also want to touch on your, down later in your testimony, you say that stablecoins enable faster, cheaper money transfers for international workers. You touched on that a little bit. Are you seeing global activity, like in emerging markets? I mean, Africa is a place that I believe that the world is looking at for stability and opportunity. What are you seeing within your company and the activity around the world?
Yeah, so I understand that exhibits are discouraged, so I'll just note that I have a little chart of the Naira USD exchange rate here. And over the last 15 years, the Nigerian Naira has depreciated by about 90% against the US dollar. There's a lot of people in Nigeria, and they very understandably want access and recourse to stable savings and some secure way to store their hard-earned money. And so we're seeing substantial adoption across jurisdictions like this, where people are seeking to improve their lives and their livelihoods with what stablecoins make possible.
Yeah, and a little bit further, you talk about fighting crime and online fraud, which obviously we're all very, very concerned about that. And you mentioned that we see other countries, especially in Europe, already putting their legal framework into motion to regulate stablecoins. Can you touch on what are they doing that we're not?
Well, I think the most important thing is simply having a clear, established, formalized framework, and that's by far the most significant consideration. And then I think the second aspect, and in particular to the fraud and illicit activity considerations you bring up, is recognizing that this is a new transport layer for money, but ultimately it's still the same money. And so we should bring and apply the same AML, CFT, BSA considerations and apply them co-equally here, but it's still money.
Yeah, very good. Mr. Gwynn, I'd like to come to you. Fortunately, this committee is aligned with the great state of Indiana and President Trump in its opposition to a CBDC, and has taken several steps to facilitate development in private sector alternatives. In your view, would a private sector-driven model for payment stablecoins foster more innovation and efficiency than a government-issued CBDC?
So I think the private sector has always been the innovator in money for centuries, if not longer. And so I think that fostering private innovation with stablecoins is very important and critical.
Would you have any concern of monopoly at all?
I don't see any now. I think it is best for Americans for there to be a lot of competition among stablecoin issuers. So I think having a clear framework and clear pathways to entry is the best policy in order to foster competition.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.